Hello again. I'm Alison Emery, and I'm with Enrique Roman today. He is the founder of Prosper Home, and he also is the CEO of Roman Realty. I'm very excited to have him here today. He's been a longtime friend, and he has a really powerful story. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
All blessed. Blessed to be here. Grateful to be here. Thank you.
Great. We were talking earlier about your length of clean time, which in the recovery circle, that's kind of a banner of pride. So when was yours?
November
November 17th?
2012.
Nice. So that gives you about
7 years,
7
3
years.
months, and a couple of days, 10 days.
That's great. So, but many years ago, when you were a kid, it was different.
Very
It
different.
was very different. So where were you raised and what was it like?
It started in Huntington Park. Downtown Central LA was where I was actually exposed to most of my life. And life there was very, very challenging. And it started in, the thing is that I was in a home with a mom and dad, and I'm lucky and fortunate to have that. But the environment that came with that was not the Brady Bunch
Right.
scene.
So your parents were alcoholics
Yes.
and
And so everybody was partying. And what happens when you go to the barber shop? You're gonna get a haircut.
eventually.
And I didn't sign up and say, hey, I want to join in, but influence and environment and socialization and
Family culture.
all of that,
Yeah.
all of that, and I just got sucked in.
And you
It
got
was-
sucked in pretty early, right?
I could. My earliest memories is being at parties at 6, 7 years old, and going around and drinking everybody else's leftover beer. And sometimes it wasn't beer. So I would just knock out.
Just a little kid getting
Little
drunk
baby.
and falling out on the floor. So by age nine, you were full in it.
It was other things happened. Mom and dad didn't go to church with me. They just did send me to church.
Oh,
And so I had a lot of time going to church, and traumatic things happened there. I wasn't being supervised by an adult.
I'm so
And,
sorry.
And one of the hurts in my life is that I was in an environment that I thought was a place that was to be of God,
Yeah.
and it turned out to be a place of hurt.
And that's a horror show, of course. So I guess what we're learning now is that trauma is really the precursor for addiction. And it really doesn't matter where you came from or who your family was. If you've experienced trauma, you're definitely more likely to deal with addiction issues. And that's what happened with you. Were you covering your feelings?
Well, that's the way to do it. I mean, why? If you have no program, that didn't mean anything to me
Sure.
as a child, and I certainly didn't see anything about that with the adults around me.
Yeah.
I saw people, violence, the drugs, and all of that lifestyle.
So was your family involved in criminal activity as well?
There were several, yes, that
Yeah.
were.
So by the time you get into high school, were you just pretty much running amok?
No, something interesting happened in that I met a teacher, Mama Shelton, and Mama Shelton told me. She said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "Ride a lowrider up and down Pacific Boulevard." And she smirked, and then she said, "Oh, I think you're gonna be the best lowrider after you finish the university." And I didn't know that when she said that first day, that didn't register. But what happened is I stayed with her. I did stay. I was pursuing a girl, and being the codependent that I was pursuing a girl, and but that girl left, but I stayed. And Mama Shelton was the first experience that I had of somebody mentoring me, of sponsoring me, of guiding me. And she would tell me, "You're going to take these classes. Come to lunch and come after school, and I will help you with your homework." She involved me in speech and debate, and then I would wind up going to Calabasas, Beverly Hills, to all these other different worlds. I thought it was
Right.
an entire different world. When I started seeing what other people, how other people lived, it was just, you know what? I want to do something different. And I stopped hanging around with my all my uncles that were getting high and
Yeah.
getting drunk. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And Mama Shelton held me by the hand and basically walked me into UCLA and said, okay, now, honey, go for it and show us what you got. And I went and got 2 degrees from there, and then I've continued my education. And
Mama Shelton.
oh God,
Sometimes I don't think that people realize the incredible impact they can have on another life just simply by showing up for that person.
that's right, that's
Yeah.
right.
And so she was that person that believed in you no matter what.
Yes,
That's amazing that you had that. A lot of folks don't have that.
that's right.
You were really blessed. So how was it at the university?
Um, as it happens, we get into cross addictions. We may have survived one, but if we don't have program, we continue to have life on life's terms show up, difficulties, stress, hardships, then if we don't learn something new, guess what? We go back to what we know. And in my case, I picked up another addiction that wasn't alcohol. It was another one, and then sexual purity issues, and rather than being the generous, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, forgiveness, truth, compassion, and faith, I demonstrated other things. I was feeding the darker wolf, and again I was sick, and then I got married. After I graduated from the university, I thought, oh, getting married is going to solve it. No, it just exacerbated the problem, and it complicated it too because, in my addiction solo, it was just me. But now I was involving the life of another human being, and as a result, caused collateral damage in that process.
So your wife, she didn't have any addiction issues. Is that
No.
correct? Yeah. So talk to me about some of the collateral issues.
Rather than having that relationship established on some great things, on good foundation, on some solid ground, I was a mask wearer. I was doing the church thing, pretending, because in private it was something else. And so that the remorse and the guilt, talk about being in prison. When people have been put in a 6x9 and you hear the door going cling, that's one experience. But you can be there without having physically being there. And that was my life.
They call that the prison of belief. So your belief system at that time kept you imprisoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm so, I experienced, had a son and raised our son and did the family thing, but all the while living this two-faced life, and to the hurt of my beloved.
And probably to your own soul as well.
Yeah.
It had to be tearing you up.
And so I'm so grateful, man, to the day that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I didn't want to wear a mask anymore.
Yeah.
Anymore. I said, I need help. And I'm so grateful for the process of having a place that I could go and just be Enrique. And that little Ricky, be connected with Ricky. That's the little boy that was hurt as a little boy. And then realize that, hey, you know what? This is a broken world. There's broken people. And I happen to have a close contact with one. And one of my process of the steps was, to make an amends or to, make a list and then direct amends. And one of my issues was, forgiving.
Ooh.
And I said, if a priest shows up at my classroom door, I would forgive that man. And then guess what happens like 2 months later?
He showed up at the door.
A guy comes in with a collar, and I said, how may I help you? And he said, oh, I'm looking for Mr. Roman. I said, what about? And then he says, well, I'm a Cardinal so in Mexico, and I train other priests. And I've heard that you are, or he told me, Mr. Roman is the best teacher here, blah, blah, blah. And I said, why do you want to talk to him? And then he says, well, I want to share with him my appreciation for his work. And he was mentioning a family that was visiting him out there in Mexico, and they were talking about what I do with kindergartners. And I just broke down and cried.
We live for those moments, don't we?
Sheesh.
To know that our work is having some kind of effect on someone. Yeah. That must have been, you must have been having lots of different feelings to have that powerful, positive message, but delivered by a priest. Yeah.
Wow. So that's the power of this program.
Well, let's talk about, because eventually you did land in a 12-step program, and that's the program you keep referring to.
Yeah.
So you landed in a 12-step program, and you've talked about the 9th step already. So you started working steps, and what happened at that point?
The process of doing steps is establishing a relationship with someone that you can trust, that you can open up to, be vulnerable. Man, vulnerable out of a male's mouth is a very, very challenging.
Yeah, that's
concept.
a tall order, isn't it?
And so to have been invited into that process, I will forever be grateful because it has changed my life. I'm no more solo wolf.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. And the concept of never alone again has this, like, I'm in a different universe.
Right, because when you're in the middle of the darkness, it's very isolating. You feel like maybe you're the only one. And when you get into a group of people, like in this case, a 12-step support group, you realize all of a sudden, I'm not so unique. There's other people that have the same struggles. And somehow that makes the burden a little bit less, doesn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so carrying that with others, pain shared is pain lessened. And so there's nothing that we can talk about that's new under the sun. And for me to have felt that contributed to me justifying and rationalizing everything I was doing. And so I'm like so grateful for the people that have invested in my life to talk to me, to talk. And then I was willing to talk too. So it takes two. So now I'm honored and just grateful for the opportunity to be able to be in a place to help people do what was done for me. I mean, I'm like, I see guys coming in with nothing. They are, we pass out food and pass out, clothes and socks. Socks are like a gold exchange commodity
right.
down in the river bottom. And so when to give that to others, and when we talk about, hey man, do you want some change? And they say, yeah, 50 cents or a dollar. And I say, a dollar, 100%? And they say, what? I said, you want 100% change? Yes. When they're willing to, and they say yes, I say, hey bro, do you want a place to live that's not here? And we'll take them literally from the river bottom and then get them into a bed and then start the process of, okay, maybe this will be appropriate placement, or maybe this, treatment or something like that, rehab.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because at some point you started changing and feeling more secure in your life and things were going well, and you decided that you wanted to then step into a lot of service to help others that had been through what you went through. And so you started Prosper Home.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about Prosper Home a little bit?
I would wind up, when I would go to the Morning Fix, the world famous Morning Fix.
Which is a self-help group that meets crack of dawn every single morning. Okay, go ahead.
And I get to go there and start my day there. I started hearing that if you help others, getting involved, being of service, go to meetings, do steps, and be of service, have a connection with a higher power, your life is going to change. And so I wanted change. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wanted change. And then one of the things I started doing was taking guys from the meeting to their sober livings. I didn't know what it was sober living was at that time, but to their place where they lived. And I would spend time there. And then one gentleman that owned houses and has a history of sober livings, Bill Overstreet, started taking note of me and said, why don't you go and open up your own place? And I said, what? He said, well, you're doing all this so much, you got to go get your own place. And I said, I don't know how. He said, oh, no problem. I'll help you. And again, I was being willing to be under somebody else's tutelage, somebody else's sponsorship, somebody else's guidance. And through that, I got one house, and then now we have 2 homes, and Lord knows what else is in the future.
So Prosper Home is a sober living. A lot of people don't know what sober living is. So I think I hear terms like halfway house a lot, which is kind of old-fashioned. But maybe you could give us a better picture of what a good sober living is like. What does it look like? What's happening there?
Well, there's a difference between a house and a home. And the name of our home is Prosper Home. And the whole purpose is because I remember that when I started, my youth was messed up. And it started from my home. And what I want to do is establish a home for all these people that give me the opportunity to be that person for them. And I just want to reach out and say, hey, bro, you're not alone. Hey, bro, you know what? There's another way. Check it out. Tell me about your story. That's the key. If they're willing to talk.
Interestingly, a lot of new people have expressed to me that they just want to be heard, that they feel invisible, like nobody's listening. And that gift of being able to just allow them to just get off their chest whatever they need to, it's a real gift to be a good listener.
And one of the things they said in the rooms was, I need a checkup from the neck up. I'm tore up from the floor up. And we all experience different brokenness, but how we are able to get better from those is having that safe environment. So through Prosper Home, we foster that. And then through the meetings, I get fed that. And so now it's like an entire paradigm shift where it's not all about the money. Yeah, money is important to be able to do things in this world. But it's not a God.
And it's not a solution to all life's problems either.
There's some things that are priceless. Yesterday I went to a tiaras and tie dance where I got to see daddies and daughters celebrating their relationship. And it's like, I just wish that we were, I want to make a difference today for the people that I get the honor of being in touch with and sharing and being one. I heard in some previous podcasts the connectedness. And that's, I believe, perhaps the most important thing that today we have to deal with. Yes, we all have cell phones. Yes, we all have Facebook. And we call them friends. We call them friends. But the power of being face to face,
There's nothing like it.
of talking and spending time is priceless. And that's what we get to do at our Prosper Home. We get to talk about our lives.
So Prosper Home is not just a place where people can live in a sober environment. This is a place where they can get guidance about spirituality or getting a job or, just whatever they basically need to get guidance for. They can get that from you.
The principle is being a productive member of society. And how that looks for every individual is different. But for each individual, we work on the concept of an IEP, an individualized instructional program.
Yes, the school teacher coming out in you.
And then what we get to is we get to do the A, B, C. All right, bro. You're not at words yet. We're doing 2 sounds right now, or 1 sound, or 1 letter, bro.
Sometimes.
Now, just stay. Just stay. All you have to do.
I bet you make a fantastic sponsor. Are you sponsoring a lot of men right now?
I get to do that. Yeah.
That's so fantastic.
And especially what I found that folks that have mental health issues have approached me in great numbers. And it's to my surprise. I mean, I'm not qualified as a psychotherapist or anything like that, psychiatrist or anything like that. But we wind up talking about those things, and I think the concept was like a life coach kind of. I've heard.
Yeah.
And I was
it's what you do when you sponsor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful because they say, I've never been able to open up like this.
I want to talk about a few things, but before we do, I want to talk a little bit about when things go wrong at sober living, because that can be very challenging. People don't always do well living together. Sometimes people go out and get loaded when they're living in your house. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know that there are some sober livings where almost everybody is getting loaded. It's not so sober. So talk to me a little bit about that. How do you keep the noise out and the strength in a sober living?
The prevalence of alcohol and now weed being legal is just an incredible social pressure. So the goal is to start speaking to people about, look, bro, do you want to do what everybody else does and continue to live your life like we all did, which was destroying our own life? Or do you want to do something different? And I've heard that referred to as insanity. If you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. But you have a choice today. What's being offered here at this house is you're going to do something different if you want. It's not forced, but the consequence of not doing it different and coming up positive on a UA test or on a breathalyzer test is, I'm sorry, you've chosen to go live somewhere else.
Okay, so a UA test is a urine analysis for drugs.
Yes.
Right, just so that people know. All right, so it's not always peaches and cream. Sometimes there's some really difficult things that you deal with in your sober living. You've used a few terms I want to go over a little bit. You talked about a 9th step and making amends. Can you tell us a little bit about what a 9th step is and what that really looked like for you?
Well, sometimes we've been harmed or we've harmed others. And to harm others and not make amends to that, not to say I'm sorry, but to just do something so that you reflect that you're not going to do that again. I think the most powerful person in my life is my wife, that the one that I owe most amends to, and then to myself, because I did destroy part of me in this process of what I was involved in. And so to forgive myself for just, destroying, causing collateral damage, and not living in remorse, because that could kill
So
us.
the 9th step gives you a chance to reflect on that, and then it gives you a method to then not apologize so much as to express to that person that you're going to do things differently and that you wished you hadn't been down that road. So 9th step can be really, really powerful.
I believe that when now I'm able to enjoy a relationship with my wife that I had never enjoyed, an experience.
That's fantastic.
And now we're at like 28 years, and it's like that doesn't come easy.
No.
And through addiction and being able to have survived 28 years of marriage, that is I'm just so grateful to the program for that.
Absolutely. So you also mentioned sponsor, and I asked you if you sponsored a lot of men, but for people that aren't familiar with a 12-step self-help group, can you explain what a sponsor is? Because I think they're probably thinking it's somebody that provides money or some other thing.
Yeah.
So what is a sponsor in program?
That would be a person that I've been able to start talking with initially. Is like my sponsor said to me the first couple of times, "Hey, do you want to go have a cup of coffee?" And I didn't know him at that time, and I would say, "No, thank you." I'd turn around quickly and leave. And then he asked me a second time, "Hey, bro, do you want to go have a cup of coffee?" And at that time I said, this is kind of weird. And then the third time he says, "Hey, bro, it's not about the coffee." And that sent chills down my back, because I knew that it was about being in relationship and being vulnerable and all of that. And I said, oh my God, what am I getting into? But it's that's another thing, that through the relationship with another person, that I was able to start getting in connection with my higher power like I had never believed in.
That must have been really difficult for you because of your experience with the Catholic Church
Yes.
and the priest that hurt you. Where did you find your eventual peace with regards to your spirituality?
When I could now look at other people and realize I'm not alone. I said that was an awakening. And I have experienced, it says in the word, he knows the way that I walk, and when he has tried me, I shall come forth like gold. And so there are some people, and I've met a lot of them, that are not able to talk about sexual abuse, and they keep it a secret. And I've been able to talk about that. It hurts. It hurts a lot sometimes. And there's a whole bunch of issues related to that. But my sponsor says, keep on sharing. Keep on sharing. Because one day you'll be able to be at peace. But right for the moment, it still hurts. But I understand that by doing it, I'm going to help somebody that is quiet, that's silent, that's in prison, and that knows that, hey, man, we've suffered from this. But there is a solution. Just get connected. Get connected with others that are interested. Because some people, man, they're not even interested. You start talking about emotional stuff like this,
yeah.
and they'll just turn you off.
Absolutely.
Because, oh, I got to go. Oh, I got an appointment. Oh, I got to go make money. Oh.
Yeah, it's difficult though, Enrique, because when I looked at the statistics worldwide on addiction, and childhood sexual abuse, a staggeringly large number of women, I want to say 90% of women in recovery have experienced either rape or molestation. And surprisingly large number of men as well, only the men don't talk about it. So I just want to thank you so much for normalizing it a little bit, to pave that road for other men to say, you know what, me too, and it doesn't have to be a deep, dark secret. I can heal through that. So thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciate the work that you're doing so much. And I hope that you'll come back and talk with us a little bit more at a later date.
Absolutely.
To close it out, if there's one thing you want people to know, what would it be?
Hugs and love.
Hugs and love.
Some of us may be on going to work. Some of us may be going on a helicopter, and we're thinking we're going to go home, or we're going to come back home, and some of us don't. And before you leave, you say to the person that you're in front of, hey, I love you, because you may not get a second chance to do that.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Okay, well, thanks for coming in and sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
And until next time, we'll see you then. And we're done. Hello.
Woo!
Cut. Woo! Thank you so much.